Hello everyone and welcome. I wanted to start a YouTube channel for a couple of different reasons. One of which is that the answers that I was looking for and the beginner's pace that I was needing, I was not finding anywhere. For a couple of months, I was watching Mandala art videos, people that were very well accomplished to music, making these absolutely beautiful pieces. And I'd come into a pretty stressful time in my life, and I realized I could totally do that. That doesn't seem too bad, seems pretty simple. And I started Googling for how to get started and checking Amazon for the tools and realized, wow, okay, I could probably get away with starting this whole thing for about 20 bucks. And I found some tools on Amazon and some paint, and I put it in the cart and I sat on it. And I sat on it. And a couple of weeks went by, and then finally I just said, okay, screw it. I'm going to do it. It's 20 bucks. What's the worst thing that could happen? And I just kind of jumped in as soon as I got everything. You've probably seen some videos too at this point that say, okay, well, you can really start with anything, any kind of Q-tip or sharpened pencil or crochet hook, whatever you wanted to do to get started with tools. I don't know. I didn't really feel like I really wanted to do that. I felt like it was going to get a little messy. And I sort of wanted to start out on the best foot forward that I could. Now, again, this is 100% beginner. I really only started this a couple of weeks ago, and I've not really hardly got up the courage yet to start these mandalas on more permanent surfaces either. So I wanted to start by making sure that you all know I want to answer as many questions as possible as I go through this process and as I learn myself, because the resources that I've found, again, are full of a lot of experienced people, kind of just using a lot of these mediums like Facebook and stuff like that for bragging and not so much teaching. And every time someone would ask a question in some of the groups that I was in, they would always get forwarded back to either videos created by the channel or group themselves, or one particular woman that is out on Facebook who, yes, absolutely, she's fantastic and she's amazing. But I watched the videos a couple of times and I personally couldn't use them. I didn't find it helpful. So here we are. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out of the way here. This is the stuff that sat in my Amazon cart for a while. Of course, there's lots more to it, but this set here is just the basics, right? The rods, the nail tools, $8.99, right? So not so bad. So it came with these. I hardly use the rods at all right now. These are my favorites, my go-tos. I do everything with just this little bit here. It came with 4 stencils. That's it. The little palette. A couple of easels, a pencil, eraser, and what else am I missing? It came with some gemstones and a couple of round boards. The other thing that I got were just paints. I found, like, literally, like I said, I'm starting out. I didn't want something expensive. And I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to screw this up pretty bad, so let's just go basic, right? So Ink Labs 24-pack premium acrylic paint, 21 bucks, right? These little bottles, let me just randomly pull out a couple here real quick. These tiny little bottles here, I use, I mean, these are, I use 2 or 3 drops on the palette for each one of these that I'm doing. And they're about a 1/4 page size, right? So, and I'll show you what I'm doing. And so this is true realistic This is beginner stuff, right? Okay, so again, because I didn't really have a permanent medium that I wanted to start with yet, I started doing it on paper. So I snagged my daughter's, I went through her paper, just regular white printer paper and some construction paper. So let me show you here. This is the first one that I ever did. Not too bad. You know, obviously not the best choice of colors because the purple faded out. You know, I wanted to try the stencils out, and I made a cardinal mistake here. You can see the double dotting here is pretty messed up, and someday we'll go through all this stuff, but I'm just gonna kind of show you realistically. I started some swooshes on here. Again, I'm still terrible at them. Playing around with color, even using a stencil, I realized, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm not following these lines correctly because I'm so focused on the spacing of the dots touching. This is probably one of my favorite. I actually tried up here to convert this one onto the little board that they gave. It didn't come out nearly as beautiful as far as the coloring. I do actually like it on the white background better. Started with some golds and some browns, blues. You know, and again, this is just printer paper. You know, this is just 8.5 by 11 paper that I folded up, and actually I just use regular old pencil to draw out the stencils. This is just from a couple of days ago. And I thought, gosh, I really like looking back at these because everybody is their own critic, right? And I wanted something to put all of these together in. And again, I'm not one to want to be very permanent yet. So I just went and bought a mixed media sketchbook. And I've done a couple in here. Okay. Again, just standard pencil. Okay. Experimenting with a little bit of colors. I mean, I think it's like 65-pound paper. It's not exactly made for acrylic paint. You might be able to see that some of this bleeds through just a little bit, but hey, I found that this is a really, really fantastic way to get started, to categorize stuff. I'll continue to use that, you know, as my ideas come in, if I want to jot some stuff down, things like that. But since we are our own worst critics, I wanted some place that I can come back and look at and say, okay, hey, I've actually improved, or hey, I haven't, or this looks good, or this looks bad. Because like I said, the groups that I were in Facebook for beginners.mandala art were just not helpful. Somebody would post something and ask specifically for criticism or feedback, and everybody would just walk through and say, it's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. And which to an extent, I absolutely love that. I love the positivity. I love the fact that everyone is on board with helping people get started and building their confidence. But at the same time, after your first or second or maybe even third one that you do, and you need some constructive criticism and you need to have an outlet to say, hey, you know what, I don't think I did this right, or how can I do this? And everybody's just like, no, it's fine, it's okay. It's not helping you grow, or at least it's not helping me grow. You know, I do want some constructive feedback. I don't want people to be like, oh my God, it's fucking terrible. But at the same time, you need somebody to go, hey, you know what? Your swooshes are a little bit off in here. You might try this. Or, you know what? I see that your dots are misaligned. Try this, whatever, you know, and people were really, truly asking for this and not getting it. So that's sort of where this project is stemming from. The other part of it is a lot of people, myself included, was asked in this group, hey guys, you know what? I'm stumped for what to do next. I need a little inspiration, or how do I finish this? Or, you know, things of that nature. And everybody was like, well, we're not going to tell you how to do this. You need to figure it out on your own. You need to be artistic. You need to be creative, and don't copy people. Don't use stencils. Don't, right? Be your own person and create your own things and let things flow. And to 100% with that, I agree. Art is your own personal expression. At the same time, I feel though that you need a little guidance. For me, especially, I needed a little bit of help to get started, right? I needed the stencils and the templates to work around, to figure out, okay, well, this is how you do this, and this is how I get better, right? The stencils helped me with the curvature here and figuring out how to place the dots. Right now, I'll be honest, I have a 5-year-old that we are homeschooling, and she's doing her kindergarten and now into first grade work as I'm recording this. And it's a lot like learning letters, for example. You don't start a kid here with a blank page and say, okay, there's the letter A, now go. Right? We have all of these pages that we give them with the little dotted lines for them specifically to trace. And you work from there with the pages with the dotted lines, and that's essentially what I'm doing here. I'm teaching myself like I'm teaching my daughter to write her alphabet, right? I want to use the stencils, and that's fine. And I've even thought many times, well, where in the world can I find additional stencils or free printable things? Or hey, I seen this one woman do this thing, and this mandala looked absolutely beautiful, and I want to try to recreate it. And everyone seems to think, oh, well, no, you're not supposed to do that. And in my mind, art is art. And whatever that is to you, whatever looks and feels good and is relaxing to you, right? There are so many artists in this world that are absolutely brilliant, but their job is to recreate things from the masters, right? Recreating a Rembrandt. Yeah, okay, fine. I get it. You're creating something that isn't your own, but in its same sentence, it is still art. It is a piece of art. How can you discredit someone for being so talented, right? And that's sort of, again, where I'm going with all of this. I want people to be following my progress and learning right along with me. And I want to discover things and share what I'm discovering. And hopefully along the way, it helps and inspires somebody else. So thank you so much for tuning in today with my little first video here. Again, I didn't really do much and I just yacked a lot, but I certainly hope that this is going to be a fun and relaxing and educational, to some extent, video and series and channel and whatever we decide that this is going to be. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll absolutely take the time to read over any comments, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, guys.